Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod. All right, well, welcome to another episode of the Flagstick Podcast, presented by TaylorMade Golf Canada, introducing stealth with carbon face for better energy transfer and more ball speed. Welcome to the carbon wood age. To learn more, visit taylormadegolf.ca. I am, as always, one of your hosts, Jeff Potter, and with me, as always, is my good friend Scott McLeod. Scotty Mac, how are things going today?
Better now that I got some coffee in my body. Need a little caffeine boost to get ready for the show, but overall, pretty good. No complaints at all.
It's amazing how that caffeine just gives us everything that we need to get through the day, right?
Yeah, especially
this is the sixth one.
This is the sixth coffee.
I actually never, and my wife will say, I actually never really finish a coffee. I make it, I drink probably a third of it, and then it gets cold. And
I was gonna say you're not a cold coffee guy.
No, I can't do that.
I don't. Yeah.
This one's warm. It'll probably be, cold halfway through the show. I won't want to drink it, and then when I'm done, I'll go make another one.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Whatever floats my boat.
Whatever it takes.
Now, check it out. Those watching,
oh boy,
can see that I am donning the 2018 Stanley Cup champ Washington Capitals chapeau.
So you didn't tell me I was supposed to be wearing my Flames hat.
Oh gosh, I didn't. That's up to you. That's up to you. Obviously this is a golf podcast, but it is the Stanley Cup playoffs. They have begun, and my boys get started as we're recording. They are going to be playing this evening, and I am a Washington Capitals fan. That is true. I have been a Washington Capitals fan for a very, 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 very long time. And
he's that old.
In 2018, they did win the cup.
Did they?
They did. And I said back then that I don't care if they ever win another cup because they've won a cup, which is more than most people can say about their teams. But that was a big fat lie. I do want them to win another cup now that I've had a taste. I may not have drinking from Lord Stanley, from the cup of Lord Stanley, but I drink the Kool-Aid, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
Caps fan. I've got quite a collection of Cap stuff that belongs to me, including an Ovechkin game-worn jersey.
Should be fun. I mean, I watched a few games last night, and I think everybody gets fired up in Canada, or a lot of people do, about the playoffs, especially golfers. Even I was in a couple of group chats last night, and I think I mentioned to you before I got on the air, group chats with golfers even down in South America right now playing tour golf, and they're watching their beloved Leafs down there. So the NHL playoffs doesn't seem to have any boundaries at all.
No boundaries whatsoever. Not at all. But you know what? It's the playoffs also signifies something else.
Spring,
golf sort of, and golf season, which we've had the course openings calendar, and it still is on our website. Though I think I did take down the main link to it. I think most courses, most driving ranges, they're kind of open now.
Getting there.
You can always call ahead to the course that you want to play just to double check and make sure that they actually are open and ready to take tee times. But nowadays, online tee times, if you go online to book a tee time, you're going to know whether they're open or not anyway. So
in most cases, I mean, most there are some courses that are yet to open or getting open in the next couple of days. Some facilities might have no carts out right now. Some don't have their ranges open as well, just because it's too wet as far as getting out and picking golf balls. So, it's been a slow start to the year, a little bit weather-wise. But the golf courses are definitely starting to fire up now, and it looks promising in the next little bit here for Eastern Ontario, and then into Western Quebec as well, as far as the golf courses there.
Good Lord, I hope so.
I hope so too. You got to get out and play.
Oh my gosh, I was tempted to on the weekend. There was some decent weather on the weekend, and I was tempted to kind of get out. But the problem is for me is that I don't have the weekends, availability on the weekends for me. I generally don't play golf on the weekends as it is in season because courses are very busy. I got things to do. My wife is off work on the weekend. There's work to do around the house and around the yard. And especially when it's really nice, you got that spring stuff. I got trees I want to take down and brush I want to clean up and fertilizer. And it's just, there's so many other things to do that golf kind of becomes very secondary.
I know, but you have to take some time to intersect golf in there just a little bit.
I know.
Just a little bit. Even if
when
it's
Brandon
9 holes,
starts playing, I'll start playing.
Yeah, I mean, I took some time on Sunday night and played 9 holes with my daughter, and it was her first round of the year to get out and play. It was a beautiful night, and yeah, it was fun, and I think you have to make a point of doing that, otherwise the summer just passes you by. It really does. So that's a lesson basically for anyone out there is just don't put it off and put it off. If you've got an opportunity, take it when you can. I understand, life gets in the way. There's lots of things that we all have to do. But if you love the game and you want to keep your tie to it, it's better if you actually play.
Agreed. Now on this podcast, when we started the podcast, we said that a lot of the topics that we get into, there'll be some discussion things that you and I will get into, but it's not just always going to be about tournaments and PGA Tour stuff and this and that. It's an information channel for a lot of things. And one of the things that kind of came up with the last couple of weeks was through one of the associations that Golf Ontario is looking for someone in the Ottawa, the regional area, to hire to help them out with some things. Now, what exactly is the position that they're looking for, Scott? And you kind of know a little bit more about this one than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe before we get to that, maybe we should explain a little bit of what's going to go on totally for the show this week.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. Yeah,
I know we'll dive ahead of myself.
I
know we'll get there, but yeah, I mean, why don't we give people a little idea of maybe some of the things we're going to talk about this week?
So we do have a really awesome show for you this week. It's as we do every week, but it is an awesome show this week. There's some really exciting discussions on the front nine about some Canadian golf stories this week. On the back nine, we're going to talk about choosing the right tees for you to play. Maybe we'll answer the big question: what tees should I play? Maybe we won't answer the question. I don't know, but you're going to have to listen to the back nine to find out. And also in the back nine, Kevin Haime is going to share his thoughts on putting. It's like, why am I even saying it like that? On putting. But before we get to the back nine, we got to get to the front nine. Presented once again this week by Metcalf Golf, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Looking for a great rate. Save 15% when you prepay. Visit metcalfgolf.com to book or to buy passes. All right. Now let's dig into the front.
There we go.
All right. Now we can get it. See, the problem is I want to get to everything. And there's all these other things that you got to do. It's the housekeeping duties that you got to do first. And so now the housekeeping duties are done. Let's move on. So let's talk about what Golf Ontario is looking for in this region. They're looking for an individual to help them out with some things.
Yeah, so basically a few years ago, Golf Ontario, who's the governing body for golf in the province, decided to come up with a regional support strategy. They obviously understand that it's very difficult to, run things from their office in Uxbridge around this province, which obviously is a huge province, and they want to provide as much support as possible. I'm choking to death here on my coffee. They want to provide as much support as possible for the golf courses within the province, which there's over 800 of them. I think they have about 500 or so that are actually members of Golf Ontario proper, but their responsibility, their mandate is all the golf courses, not just ones that are, part of their official membership. So what they're trying to do is they've done it in the past. They've hired managers in a couple of areas of the province to provide some extra support for the courses to act as a liaison. And now they're looking for one in the Ottawa region. So they're basically looking for an individual. It's a job they'll work from home. What they'll do is they'll basically be working with the courses, providing all the services that Golf Ontario does, any support that they need as far as tying back those courses to the provincial association, and just helping promote golf within the region as well. So a unique opportunity. It's one we knew was coming for a while here, that they were going to be planning to offer. But certainly if somebody's in the golf business, maybe they're well networked, have a good amount of contacts, they're very well organized, they're going to have to basically, like I said, they're going to have to keep contacts on a constant basis with all these courses, check in with them, provide any type of support that they need, and it just makes it easier and more engaged for Golf Ontario with the courses that are down here. Lets them know that they're valued, which they are, but it's just a way that Golf Ontario can provide a higher level of service for the clubs and the golfers of the region.
Sounds like a pretty sweet job for somebody that's looking to want to be around golf a lot, and around golf courses a lot, and around golf people in the golf business a lot. So if you're listening or you're watching, and that's of interest to you, you can always, there's a little bit more of a story on that on flagstick.com, but you can also visit the Golf Ontario website. I believe is it still gao.org?
go.ca.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
But if you go to our website, if you go to flagstick.com,
yeah.
we actually have the link there. We also have the PDF with the full job posting that's there. Okay. So if you want to read the description, get the details of it, we've got that all there.
Perfect. Okay. So moving along,
yes, sir.
Some other stuff going on, within the region, the National Capital Region. As we've said before, junior golf for us is kind of it's a big deal for everybody. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, because there are those that don't really seem to care too much about it anymore. But for us, it is a big deal. And for most golf courses, it's an area that they continue to try to dive into a little bit more with some unique things. In the Marshes, no stranger to junior golf out there, has a new league, junior league, that they've got going on this year too, right?
Yeah, so they're launching a new league, basically working in cooperation with the Ottawa Valley Golf Association, and it's designed for girls aged 12 to 18, and to really get them into the game in a casual and friendly environment. It's going to be running on their Marchwood, which is their European short course.
Love that course.
Yeah, so basically it's going to starts early June, runs through the end of August on Sunday afternoons. And it's going to be a low-cost league, and really just getting players more familiar with, things that I guess in golf, maybe it's an introduction to competition. The other side of it too, it's I think what it does, it mirrors other sports. So a lot of people are so used to their other sports that maybe their kids are involved in, where they have things that are scheduled and they're weekly that they go to. And as a result of it, that's sort of the rhythm. The problem, just as we're talking about for you, even going and playing golf, is that if you don't schedule that, sort of the time passes you by. So if you're thinking about it in the, basically the reference of 12 to 18-year-old, girls playing, maybe they only get out once or twice during the year, even though the parent might have good intentions. But by having it as a scheduled league, they get that structure that's there, so they know regularly they're going to go out and do that. They're going to get some help with it as far as they're going to have some camaraderie there. They're going to have a little clinic at the start of it to kind of help the kids sort of get into it, learn about the game a little bit. It'll also probably introduce them to some golf friends as well, which is really important in junior golf, and especially for the girls. We've seen that time and time again over the last 25 years at golf courses, that there'll be one girl or two girls that are junior members at a golf course, but then all of a sudden there's no other girls. It's, they don't have that social aspect, which is super important, especially for teens.
Hugely important. Yeah.
Hugely important. So this is a chance for, golfers of Ottawa and the West End of Ottawa to kind of get together, parents to bring together these kids, 12 to 18-year-old girls, have a formal thing on Sunday afternoon at a really nice facility, get them engaged in the sport and the fact that, hey, this is fun to do. And, that should help prolong their activity for, the rest of their life.
You know what? This is probably a topic that we can dig into on the back nine sometime, as that seems to be where we put discussions like this, but just briefly discussing, I'm surprised, and I wish we saw more of this kind of thing, because having, grown up with kids that played minor hockey,
Right.
that played soccer, that played
Yep.
baseball,
Great examples.
they're all team sports.
Yeah.
And, there's 15 to 20 kids on a team, and they have a weekly practice or 2 weekly practices, and they have, tournaments that they go to on the weekends out of town. And like, why can't golf be like hockey or like soccer? Why can't there be a team of 10 kids or 12 kids at a golf course, that are the Marshes Bandits or something like that, or the Marshes Blackbirds, because that's kind of their logo.
Sure.
And they play against the Rockland Trilliums, because that's their logo. And it's a team, and there's 4 teams that participate in an event at any given golf course, and they're 1 player per foursome, and there's 12 foursomes, and they get points, and they do it on a Stableford system or however they want to do it, and they keep a league. This is how many wins, wins and or points you've achieved, not so much wins, but and then they have weekly practices where they go to the range with the pro at that golf course, and they work on their putting or their chipping or their swing, and it becomes kind of an all-encompassing development program. Because I know there's development programs out there, and there's camps that the kids can go into and stuff, but there is hockey camps and stuff like that, and there's development programs for the elite players in the sport, but there's nothing really. And I'm not going to say there's nothing at all, because there's stuff out there. I'm just saying, like, there isn't a junior golf league that is something that mimics other sports leagues going on, particularly in this region. But I'm sure maybe in the GTA they might have something. But nothing that's really promoted, nothing that's really like, you get minor hockey and there's an association that looks after. So why isn't there a minor golf association?
There is definitely things that are happening. I mean, there's a PGA Junior League, which is in the US, which has obviously been mimicked.
And you've seen that they wear their golf shirts and they got their numbers and names on the back of them. It's just like other sports.
which has started to grow, and you're starting to see that now as well. In particular places down at Barkhoven, for an example, Linda Shepherd's had a league down there for quite some time. There's a number of different areas where they have that, and it's becoming more common. I think what you'll start to see is that starts to be more common as the first tee grows in Canada, which is obviously a big initiative that we're seeing in Canada, with Golf Ontario, Golf Canada, and across the country. We're going to see the chapters of that grow, and we'll start to see more of that as far as that organized activity that way. So obviously we see already, men's and women's leagues are very common. We don't see as many of the junior leagues, mostly because there hasn't been the demand, or there hasn't been as many of the participants to be able to do that. But in order to make that happen, they have to foster that and make that available and make it part of the culture. The more it becomes part of the culture, the more it will be, common that's out there. So I would say there's huge potential for that, and we'll definitely see more of that in the future. And it's just nice to see this one happening here at the Marshes and with the Ottawa Valley Golf Association behind it.
Cool. All right. Good for them. Now, obviously over the last couple of years, and we've been no stranger to the conversation on this podcast about, how COVID has affected the way businesses conduct themselves. And we've always said that, much like ourselves, as you kind of work through, figuring out what your business needs to do or doesn't need to do in order to be successful, survive, continue to grow, having gone through this pandemic and into sort of where we are now and continuing to post-pandemic, that adaptation is key, and finding other niches within your business that you can tap into to provide for your customer base to set you apart from others is super important. And one of our driving ranges, the 19th Tee in the West End, kind of recognized something that they felt they could do to their facility to kind of provide another offering from a food and beverage point of view that would enhance the overall experience. So, what about what's happening with the tavern at the 19th Tee?
Yeah, the Tavern on the Tee at the 19th Tee. So that's the west end of Ottawa here in the National Capital Region. I don't have a lot of details of it yet. I first started seeing some posts and things about it on their social media on Instagram. But what they've done is they've created an area where they can have a little bit more social gathering. The tavern or the 19th Tee previously didn't really have much as far as a food and beverage area. Things were people, be a few benches here and there where people could hang out, where people are hitting balls. But, they're obviously starting to see more corporate events happening as well. A lot of groups want to get together and socialize and do things around golf. We've seen that growth in things like Top Golf, for an example. We've seen that, at Kevin Haime's place with the Top Tracer, that aspect. So that social aspect is kind of growing. So what they've done at the 19th Tee is they've created a tavern that's there and set up, and they've got a seating area and so forth. Nice patio area so people can enjoy a beverage, maybe a snack or something while they're out there. It extends the time that people are out at the range. It provides an extra service for them. And then our Joe McLean was out there the other day hitting balls, talking to the ownership. And
Joe was hitting balls.
Joe was hitting balls, believe it or not. I know when he sent that text, I was like, what?
Wow.
What were you doing hitting balls? But apparently he was. And he basically said he had a chat with him there, and they're looking forward to more social and corporate events and those types of things happening there as well, which obviously, as we kind of work our way through the pandemic, is becoming something that people want to get back to as well. So good on them for enhancing their services, looking ahead to the future, looking how they can build their business beyond just people going and hitting balls or buying clubs or whatever. There's other things that people want to do, and you can make it an evening instead of just going and hitting balls. Get a chance to sit at the picnic table, have a snack. If it's just the gang from the office, you want to go for a casual drink or whatever, but it's around golf, which makes it fun as well. So like I said, good on them for the Tavern on the Tee at the 19th Tee in the west end of Ottawa.
Cool. I'll have to get out and check that out myself. I know Target Golf Center just down the road from my place has a similar. They don't have sort of much of a food and beverage side to what they do there, but they have a nice patio. Yeah. And they have music piped out on the patio, and it kind of creates that sort of fun atmosphere because driving ranges like that. Now you're not going to see anything. You won't see anything quite that extravagant at a golf course per se. It's a little bit more sort of you're at a golf course, you're there to warm up for your round, but I would say that ranges
I'd say that right now, but I would say as we look towards the future, you're going to see more golf courses thinking about that, engaging that. I mean, if they want to, if they want to drive revenue and maximize the revenue that they're having at their ranges, it's an ideal way to do it. I mean, I know down in Kingston here at Amersfoort, they have a food truck that's right down between the 10th tee and the tee box for the driving range. Yeah. And I see people all the time, they hit a few balls, go over, grab a poutine, go back, hit a few, and it's not me, and go back,
hit a few balls and go grab I guarantee if you hit a few balls, then go grab a poutine, you might have a little different kind of weight shift when you go back to the bucket of balls.
You might, but again,
I'm not saying don't eat the poutine between your buckets of balls. You go ahead and do whatever the heck you want. I'm just saying that you might want to limit the poutine, maybe hold off on the poutine till after you're done hitting the balls if you really want to, get the most out of that range session.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a way of looking at the golf course as being an entertainment center and not just a golf course. Yeah, there's a lot more to it, and I think you'll gradually see now that the concepts have started to be proven more and more, you're going to see more golf courses that are engaging. And I've seen it out west, for an example. There's a couple of golf courses here in Western Canada, that have installed things like Top Tracer and so forth, and on their ranges, so that it's not just people that are coming to warm up for the round. They come out and they're there in the evenings when the golf course sort of closes up a bit, and it gets dark in the evening. They've still got corporate events and other things going on because, face it, the golf season is a short season. So they want to basically be able to maximize their time and their revenue of what they're doing. So definitely we'll see that more and more, but 19th Tee is a great example there.
Cool. Now, our good friend Kurtis Barkley.
Yes, sir.
we've known Kurtis for a very, very, very long time. Kurtis was the Flagstick shootout many years ago when we
2015.
2015. Yep. I hosted when we were hosting the tournament at Smuggler's Glen, down at the Glen House Resort in near Gananoque.
Yep.
And Kurtis is a fantastic player. Fantastic player. And he also suffers from a little bit of a physical, I guess you call it a disability for sure. Yeah. But Kurtis has in the last few years, he's become part of the, now correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to sound stupid here, but it's the European Disabled Golfers Association.
Yeah, so that's originally what it was. And, what they've done now is they've got the Golf for Disabled Tour, which actually is started now. So it makes it less called about Europe and that it's, something a little bit more worldwide. But you're right. They had, they're part of the official world golf rankings, which he was ranked 4th before this week. We'll see what happens. And then basically what's happened is that he's decided to put a lot more of his focus on that aspect of the game. He's managed to win championships in Canada and Ontario, and now he's gone into this world level where he's played some events in Australia and Dubai, but now this tour has just started. So the very first tour event was this week, and it was being held concurrently with the European Tour, now they're called the DP World Tour, concurrently with their Betfred British Masters hosted by Danny Willett. So it's called the G4D at that event. And it's, the Belfry, the Barbizon course, was hosted Ryder Cups, European Tour events, and they were able to play 36 holes there Monday and then finished today on the Tuesday when we're recording this. And he held the lead overnight. And sadly, just very closely, he got himself into a playoff, and it was a three-person playoff. Got his way down to 2 players. They got to the second playoff hole, and he lost, unfortunately, on the 3rd playoff hole. But fantastic play by him. It's obviously very difficult going from our environment. He's obviously been training and hitting balls and so forth at Cedar Glen, doing some indoor training and stuff as well. Jumped over there and competed, and that should be helpful as well when we look at his world ranking, where he's ranked number 4 in the world right now, but chances are he is going to probably climb that a little bit. Nice. After the new rankings are out.
That is so awesome. I'm excited. We've been following what he's been doing on that tour, obviously for a while now, since he started it, and it's Kurtis it's a great story what he's doing, and what makes it even more extraordinary how well he's doing on the tours that he's on now is that he still competes in pretty much every competition that he can get into around here. He's always been a part of our events, though a lot of what he does with the new tours that he's involved in kind of conflict with some of our stuff, so he's not able to participate as much, but that's fine. We're okay with that, Kurtis. He's doing great things. He's an awesome player, and obviously we wish him continued success, and we'll continue to follow what he's doing both on this podcast and whenever he does stuff. We always post and write about it on flagstick.com. So anything that we've ever written about Kurtis, if anybody wants to learn more about what he's doing, you can go to flagstick.com, just search for his name, and you'll find a lot of stories.
Lots. Yeah, he's in he's been a OVJ champion, and as I mentioned, a Golf Ontario champion when they started their disability, I guess, All Abilities Championship, which is now what they call it for the Canadian Championship as well. Continues to be a great golfer, grinding away. He's 34 now, and I just still see there's so much upside for him, and he's so excited about playing these events and establishing himself and chasing that number 1 spot. Nice.
All right, good for him. All right, well, we got to get out quickly, take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to have a little putting tip from our good friend Kevin Haime at the Kevin Haime Golf School. And maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to answer the question, what tees should I play on the back 9, after a quick word from our podcast sponsor, TaylorMade Golf Canada.
Over the past 40 years, You've inspired us to make a lot of great drivers. All great, but all eventually reach their limit. But while we were making all these drivers for the present, we were also hard at work making the next generation of driver. Because where titanium ends, carbon begins.
All right. Well, we are back, and we're about to begin the Back Nine, presented this week by Golf Sim Gurus. Work on your game all year round in the privacy of your own home. Custom golf simulators set up, built to your specifications to fit your budget. Visit golfsimgurus.ca to learn more. All right, Scott, we're on the Back Nine, and the spot where we generally get into.
Does that mean we're past 50? Is that what that means? Oh, wait. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, there's two.
Okay.
There's two schools of thought there. We could look at this in golf terms, or we could look at this in life terms. I like to look at it in golf terms. As don't want to think about being 51 years old and on my back nine. But you're older than me, so maybe you look at it that way.
Wow. Okay.
This is the time when we sort of get into some discussions, maybe about some hot topics that have sort of come up, some thoughts from some of our viewers or our listeners, or people that just sent emails, or things that we might have heard. One of the things that sort of has kind of crept across my email and across my social media threads has been some discussions regarding which tees you should be playing. Mm-hmm. And there's a number of schools of thought on, the general idea of which tees you should be playing. There's lots of different factors that are included in that sort of in that question. The one that we can kind of throw aside, that we have been trying to throw aside for many years now, is the idea that there's any such thing as men's or women's tees. Gender has zero, and I mean zero, and I don't care if a golf course has what they designate as men's and ladies tees. That's wrong. Gender has zero to do with which tees you should or shouldn't be playing. Nothing to do with it. Correct. At all. Correct?
I believe it 100%.
Awesome. What does play a factor in which tees you should be playing is pretty much everything else.
It can be, for sure.
How far you hit it, so the distance you hit it, your ability, the seasonality, what time of the year it is, can play a factor in there. The course conditions, the weather conditions, and the big one, probably more so amongst us men, is ego. Ego. Right up here. I've played a lot of golf with a lot of women, and not too many of them feel that, choose the tees that they play because, they're thumping their chest that I got to play the back tees. I'm a good golfer. It's kind of more of a men thing.
Sadly, it's true. I mean, we've seen that many, many times over the years, and unfortunately, it leads to a lot of issues. I mean, it leads to people, not enjoying the game because they're not able to reach the greens in regulation. It leads to slow play. People have to understand that, choosing the arena that you're playing in makes a difference. So if you want to put that in terms of hockey, we see it in the, half sheets of ice, mini rinks. We see that because it's made for a different size of player or a different style of what you're playing. Same thing goes with golf. I mean, if you look at it, yes, let's say a golf course is 7,000 yards. Does it mean you have to play it all? Yes, I get it. You paid the same green fee, but it doesn't mean, you have to use all the yardage and automatically go to the back tees, because it leads to an issue. But I think the biggest issue, first off, more than anything, is the education about it. It's not something that's really, and that's why we're talking about it here, is that it's not talked about a lot. And it's just like a lot of other things in golf. Experienced golfers sort of have the expectation that other people will know what to do, whether it's to fix a ball mark or where to park their golf carts or whatever. that has to be learned. That's a learned activity. So the same thing goes for choosing what tee boxes you play off. Now, we're in maybe a slightly different position than some other people and how they perceive when they what they how they look at it, because we maybe hit the golf ball a little further than the average golfer in some cases. Yeah. But what you'll see is that, like my own golf course, for an example, where I'm at, once players started to figure out, a large portion of the golfers now have moved forward because they can enjoy the game much more. So whereas we have at our course blue tees, white tees, green tees, yellow tees, red tees, there's more and more golfers that are up at the green tees now, because they realize it's, and it took a while, believe me, because, it took the first person to creep forward and the other person go, oh, is that okay? We're playing off the greens. Once they all started to accept it and they realized that they could reach the greens in the regulation, they had shots that were, landing closer to the hole. They had more chance to make birdie putts. It changes the whole context of the game for them. So I think what a lot of people have to do is have to look at turning their back on the legacy that we're seeing at a lot of golf courses. Yeah. And I think that's the problem that we have. I mean, we all grew up, and a lot of people grew up at golf courses that basically had maybe 2, maybe 3 sets of tees. And that was it. And the good players play here, these players play here, and the women play up there, which we know is, again, totally wrong and doesn't really serve the entire market and creates a lot of issues. So, I mean, what's your perception as far as what golfers automatically do when they go to the golf course, and what you've seen in the past?
Well, for me, I mean, to me, I see most golfers look at 2 sets of tees. They look at the front, they look at the back.
Right.
Even if a golf course has 5 or 6 different sets of tees, there seems to be sort of this, okay, I'm a good player, I hit it far, I'm going to the back tees.
Right.
I'm not
and that may not be without even looking at the scorecard.
Well, exactly. They might not even look to see, well, the back tees is, at that particular golf course are 6,200 yards.
Yeah.
The front tees or the forward tees or the next tees up are 5,800 yards. And so they go to the next tees up at 5,800 yards, which probably is not a bad thing.
Right.
But if they're used to playing a golf course from the forward tees, and their home course is 6,200 yards, and the course they're at, the back tees are 6,200 yards, well, then they're not paying attention to the course that they're playing, and playing it from the yardage that suits their game the best. Now, that said, there's also something to be said for your group. And you and I have done this numerous times. So many road trips that we've gone on, so many times that we have gone to golf courses to play, and we've joined up with 2 people that are already there. So we're in a cart, we show up, we're paired up with 2 other people. And we've done this numerous times. The very first question that gets asked after you do is, hey, I'm Fred, I'm Jeff, I'm Scott, I'm John. All right, great to have, let's play some golf, let's have some fun. What tees are you playing?
Yeah.
Automatically. And you don't want that to be, even though you're not really playing golf with them as they're your buddies.
Right. You're
playing golf with them. Now, you should not ever feel obligated to go up and play off the green tees at 5,600 yards with 2 people just because you're paired with them and you're used to playing.
So that's the social aspect.
Yes. So you have to decide for yourselves. Okay, well, and you and I will do this a lot. We probably would not jam up all the way forward, honestly, because then it would be completely not enjoyable for us.
Maybe.
But we sometimes, and a lot of times, do find a happy medium. Well, what tees do you guys usually play? Well, we usually play the whites.
Right.
Okay. We'll play the whites, 6,500 yards, not 6,900 or at 6,300. We'll play the whites. No big deal. Let's have some fun. Let's stay together, and play. There's nothing wrong with not doing that.
No, I guess it really depends on your intention of what you're trying to do. So, I use the example of playing with my daughter, and, quite often. So the other night when we play
from the same tee.
I played further back, but a lot of times we play from the same tees. I was trying to work on some certain things or whatever, and she totally understood that. It wasn't like I wasn't walking up to her tees and hanging out there, and she was hanging out at my tee as well. But a lot of times, yeah, if she's playing red or green or yellow, which are 3 common ones that she plays, I'll just go up and play with that, because that's sort of the point of those rounds. It's a social aspect of it that way. So again, don't feel, if you're going for a social aspect of it, you can just go up and play. I mean, maybe the game's a little bit different. I get it too. It's going to vary a little bit sometimes in maybe public play versus membership play. If people are playing at a, public course and they're paying a set green fee versus going, an all-you-can-eat membership, let's say, then they go, well, I want to get as much out of my round as possible. Maybe I should move back there. But again, those are one of the factors of enjoying yourself and having fun. And the number of people that I run across that have never played a more forward set of tees, and they automatically assume it's going to be super easy. Yeah. And I'm like, well, guess what? You still got to hit the greens, and you still got to make the putts, and you still got to score. You're not necessarily going to eat it up that way.
Well, a lot of times a good player, a lower index player, or even a mid index player that is a good player that hits the ball a decent distance, will find that moving up a deck or two brings all of the stuff that normally is not in trouble for them from the back tees. It brings it all into play. So now all of a sudden you're playing a completely different golf course. You have to hit an iron off that tee, not a driver, because driver from the back tees left you short of that bunker. And driver from the tees you're playing now puts you in that bunker, or you have to cover that bunker to hit driver. So now it changes everything. So the golf course becomes more difficult. So I guess, Scott, when we're asking the question,
right,
and just flat out saying, which tees should I play from? The answer to that question is there are too many factors to really say unequivocally one way or the other. You should play these tees, because if I'm a good player, or I'm you and you're a good player, you don't have, you're going to go to a golf course and automatically you're likely, if you're playing with 3 other good players, you're likely going to go to the back tees. Like, that's not always, but generally, because that's where you would need to play a golf course from in competition. That's where you need, like, not
although that has changed now for me, because because
you're in the senior category with the PGA.
So even that example that you said earlier about going forward, I mean, I had to do that last year, and it was more challenging because I went and played a golf course that I'd probably played 100 times
at Eagle Creek.
The back tees. Exactly. Then all of a sudden I go to the forward tees, and I'm standing on the tee trying to figure out how to play the golf course. It's still a challenge. But it's still trying to play out the golf course. I think one of the biggest things, within this is, the old school thinking was always, it was related to handicap. It was related purely to ability more than anything. But the problem is, within ability, is that there's a lot of different things that make up a person's ability. I played in scrambles, for an example, where, we had a D-flighter that was playing in the tournament that, hit the ball 315 off the tee, but had a terrible short game. So, you can't just use handicap as the factor. And like I said, the old school sort of way of thinking was, back tees, low handicap men, middle tees, middle to high handicap men, low handicap women, or low handicap senior men. And then the front tees were designed for middle to high handicap women, or seniors, or beginners. Well, again, throw out the gender factor. We got rid of that. Handicap, that's not really the easiest way to judge it, because how a person's going to enjoy or tackle that golf course is going to be much different. But I think there are some answers. But again, I think there's no one answer, but I think there are some ways that maybe a player can help choose.
Can we sort of say that if you're with a regular group of people, or you're in a, if for casual golf, because if you're playing tournament golf or league golf, you play the tees that you're told to play. You really don't have a choice. It's not it really, at that point, it doesn't become what tees should you play from.
No,
it becomes what teams are you, because we have that in the Flagstick Open. We have uh, 3 different sets of blocks that we use for the Flagstick Open. We have our A and B division playoff of our hybrid back tees. And then we have our C division playoff of a different set and our D division playoff of a different set. We set that course up as a hybrid course. We don't play Equinel from the back tees for A's and B's. We mix up, move some tees up. So it's tournament setup. So throw that out the window, because you're at the mercy of whatever tees you're told to play for a tournament. So tournament golf's got nothing to do with this. Casual golf with your buddies. If you go to the golf and say, hey, I'm meeting up with 3 of my buddies, we're going to play. What tees do you guys want to play?
Yeah.
Whatever tees you want. You know, as a group, you decide which tees you want to play, and you play.
And that said, though, that even in casual play of that way, you don't necessarily have to play off those tees. I mean, the handicap system, the way it's set up and the way the courses are rated now, players can determine, you know, if somebody else plays off a different set of tees, they can determine what their stroke allocation is if they need to play off those forward tees, so that you can have an equivalent match. So, you know, so that's a big thing that way. I think the biggest factor in all of this, and I know we're going to get to this here, is what I mentioned is the driving distance, how far a person hits the golf ball more than anything, because that changes how they play the golf course. It changes what clubs they hit in from an approach perspective. And what we see and what we found over the years, and you know, you can comment whether you've seen this or not, but I see golf courses that are set up for certain players. Maybe they're novice players, maybe they're players that don't hit it the long way, and they're playing off tees where they can't reach the green in 2. So I know your son, for an example, we've talked about that a fair bit over the years, that, you know, all of a sudden he's playing par 4s that he can't reach in 2. Well, their odds of making a birdie are really slim. They never get to putt for a birdie or less. Yeah. And that's because purely they're playing off the wrong tees.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And I mean, I say that, you know, for my son early on, that was a huge factor in choosing the tees to play from, was being able to hit a variety of different clubs into the greens and have an opportunity to get there in regulation.
Right.
Not a factor for him now,
because
he's older and he hits it farther, but to the point, it's not a fact. It was a factor for him as he learned to play the game.
Right.
And for a lot of times, playing too far back made the game not enjoyable, because you're basically hitting driver, fairway wood, driver, fairway wood, driver, fairway wood, and still not reaching some greens in 2. But even now, because you can hit it further, now from the further back tees, all those greens that were unreachable in 2 with different clubs are now all reachable in 2 with different clubs. Par 5s become reachable in 2 in some cases if you hit a good tee shot. So for me, I've seen a couple of things kind of pop across social media with respect to choosing the right tees and how how distance you hit the ball has nothing to do with it. Ooh, and I'm like, wow. You know, 100% no. Show me, explain to me how the distance that you hit it has nothing to do with which tees you should play.
Yeah.
The distance that you hit it has probably, ability aside, one of the biggest factors as to there's no system that you can devise. You can create whatever systems you want to tell yourself that there's, you know, a reason why distance isn't a factor. If you only hit it 200 off the tee and you're playing a 7,000 yard golf course, maybe you enjoy that. You know, for me, for a lot of years, I was a bit of a pea shooter when it came to hitting balls off the tee. Hit it dead straight most of the time. A lot of side spin. We always used to call it my flop shot driver, because I could hit it 260, 270 downwind, but I'd hit it about 200 into the wind. Now, I'm a good player. I was a good player back then too, when I was hitting it nowhere.
Yeah.
But if I played a golf course that had multiple par 4s in excess of 400 yards, I was hitting a fairway wood for my second shot into those par 4s every single time.
Yep.
And I used to comment. I used to play the back tees with you and your previous partner, Jim. Used to play the back tees every golf course because you guys hit it a long way and I wanted to play golf with you guys. So I played from the back tees. But you and I both know that I played that golf courses so much more difficult because I wanted to play with you, and I had no business being on those tees.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not enjoyable for me. It was enjoyable being out on the golf course with you guys and playing.
Well, thanks
but it
for
was
saying
not,
that.
It was not, well, that's it. It was not enjoyable to play golf from that far back because I couldn't do anything with it. Now, yes, when we go on some of our road trips, we'll go to a golf course like Kiowa Island, or when we went to, my goodness, what was the golf course we played at that they, I forget,
Sedgefield.
Sedgefield, right? Sedgefield, very long golf course.
Yeah, where they play the Wyndham Championship on the PGA Tour.
Very long golf course. I shot 78 on that golf course from the back tees, and probably hit fairway wood into every par 4.
Yeah, because they're all 490
exactly.
yards.
I got up and down from everywhere. Yeah, from the back of a skunk, whatever. Yeah. I could get up and down from everywhere and made every putt.
Yeah,
and shot 78. But that was the hardest freaking 78 that I've ever shot. And that could have easily been an 88 if I didn't get up and down every time I missed a green, because I really missed a good chunk of the green. So distance, to me, distance has almost everything to do with the selection of tees that you're playing from.
Yeah, well, we see the math now, and we've got the ability to track things with TrackMan, so we have data to sort of basically back up what we see here. And as we said, when we're talking about a junior playing, there's ego involved there too. They're like, oh, I want to play from these tees, but if they can't reach the green, it's no fun. But it's hard to tell them to do that. So the distance is super important. And what we find now is that like I said, with TrackMan, we can we've measured and we're able to see tons and tons of points of data. We can see what the average golfer does as far as hitting a golf ball and how long they hit a golf ball and how that correlates to the other shots that they hit as well. And that starts to give you a much better idea of what yardage they should be playing at to be sort of equivalent and to have the same type of experience. And we've seen that with the development of what's called the Longleaf T System, which it was a joint initiative of the American Society of Golf Course Architects, their foundation, and the U.S. Kids Golf Foundation is a golf course in North Carolina. They basically teamed together to kind of work on a couple of different things and look at a way that a golf course could be played better and more efficiently so everybody could enjoy it. It's only been 7-8 years now since they started to come up with their system, but we're seeing it more and more happen all over the place. And the premise for it, and which I totally love, is that you can go to the driving range and they basically got a system set up that they have about 7 different sets of tees possible, and up to 8 if you're talking about PGA Tour players. And it's purely based on how far they carry the golf ball, which again, that becomes important as far as the seasonality is concerned, because that changes things. Right now, I have a whole bunch of people that are like, man, I'm not hitting the ball very far. Well, it's because it's spring and you're not getting any roll. So it's all about the carry distances. And what they'll find is that, it really correlates to how far a person hits a driver and how far they hit all their other clubs. There's percentages that kind of go down, and the average person, whatever they carry their driver, they will generally carry a pitching wedge probably half that distance. Yeah. So what they've decided is, let's set up a golf course based on all these types of yardages. And yes, it does require more tee boxes, but it does create a better experience for people where they can play faster, enjoy the game more. And it's simple as this: for them to figure out the distance that they hit it at their driving range, they have these markers set up where you hit your drive and you see where your average drive lands, and that will determine kind of what tee boxes you should be choosing. And then they have this system that goes all the way through. And here's one of the neat little things, and it's a little thing that you don't even think about, but their scorecard for the Longleaf system starts with the shortest course at the top and works down on the scorecard so that their longest yardages are at the bottom. And to mix people up, their blue yardages are actually their shortest ones. Their reds are actually their longest ones. They go to as far as their 7 system. But it's neat because when you look at the scorecard and you see that it might start out at 3,200 yards, it's at the top and then works its way down. So from an ego standpoint, people don't look like they're losing; they look like they're gaining.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. Some people that look at the scorecard, they see the yardage at the top and they're like, oh, it's 6,800 yards. Oh, but I'm going to have to go down here 3 tees down and play 6,200. And it's sort of I'm not getting the full golf course and whatever. So they flip that a little bit. And then basically they have all their holes are rated. And really it's a cool system. People can look it up if they want. It's called the Longleaf T System. But again, it's based purely on driving averages more than anything, the carry. And then what you end up getting is really representative, similar clubs in to the greens in a lot of cases, but it's all about the tee shot, and those carry distances for their system runs from 100 yards, 125, 150, 175, 200, 225, 250, and their longest would be like 275. And what you end up seeing is golf courses that correlate from 3,100 yards to 7,482. But think about that. How many beginning golfers are out there right now that maybe hit the ball off the tee 150 yards and they're playing golf courses that are 6,000 yards? Whereas if you look at their system, the way they have it set up, 6,000 yard golf course is getting closer to a player that hits it like 215 off the tee, which is really close to the male driving average of 218 that's recorded. So there's a lot of golf courses that are out there that are already way too long for the golfers that are out there playing, for them to enjoy it, to match it up to what's happening for, a player who hits it longer in the experience that they're having.
Well, here's the thing. I know that there's people that will be watching or listening to this podcast and listening to this conversation that are going to not agree with what we're saying. Yeah. And by all means, please do disagree.
Sure.
If you
and
want
there are going to be outliers. Yeah. There are going to be people that don't fit into these particular categories. Yes. But let's just say this system, for an example, is very well thought out.
So my what I'd like to say to anybody that doesn't disagree or does disagree with this, that's fine. Yeah. Reach out to Scott or myself. You can find our email addresses on the website. Feel free to reach out. Do not reach out to us through social media in some kind of argumentative post, because the response that you're going to get from me, and I'm sure that Scott will share the same thing, is a zero response.
Yeah, I
probably a block, because I'm not going to get into I don't block, some kind of contest.
I don't get on social media to sit there and argue with people.
No, if you want to talk about something, if you've got a system that you've figured out and you think it's better than using the system of how far you hit the ball off the tee or with your clubs, then that's fine. Reach out to us. Send an email with your thoughts and have a conversation. We're happy to discuss it. And if it's a worthwhile discussion that then we can update this conversation through another episode of this podcast to bring your point forward. I have no issues with that at all. But don't try to deal with it on social media, because if the last 2 years have taught me anything about social media, it's I just don't get into arguments with people about anything on social media, because nobody wins those arguments. No, nobody ever wins those arguments. So last thought on that is, when you go to a golf course that you have not played before, take a look at the scorecard online. Take a look at the length of the holes that you're going to be playing, the par fours, the par threes. Get a feel for how far you hit the ball off the tee, not how far you think you hit the ball off the tee.
Measure it if you can. Use a rangefinder or check the markers on the tee range and find that out. And bury your ego. And
don't solely go by total yardage of a golf course. Just because a golf course is 6,500 yards does not mean that you can't play it. No. It could be that there's a lot of long par threes. It could be there's a lot of long par fives. And par fives you can reach in 3. You don't have to get there in 2. And maybe the par fours are all quite within your range. Look at all the yardages. Do your homework ahead of time, and then you'll get there knowing, okay, these are the tees that I think are most appropriate for me to play. And if your other circumstances pop in as far as who you're playing with, and you have no choice, then you make that decision ahead of time and say, you know what, the 3 buddies I'm playing with, they're not going to want to play from there, so I'll just play where they're playing. You accept that if that's the way it's got to be. But if you're just going to tee it up yourself or with a couple of buddies and you guys want to figure it out ahead of time, the best way to do it is do your research ahead of time. Courses nowadays, all the scorecards are online. You can check it out and figure it out for yourself. But driving distance is probably your number one factor to focus in on.
Yeah, I would say for people, you know, couple things, just as a last point here. If you're not giving yourself an opportunity to reach the greens in regulation, if you're reaching none, and not just because you're sideways, but because you're short, definitely reconsider what tees that you're playing off of. I mean, you want to have that enjoyable aspect of the game of being able to putt for birdies. The other side of it, don't be afraid to try out a golf course from a shorter distance than you normally play it. I mean, if you make too many birdies, move back. You know, if that's the case or whatever, but don't be shy about moving forward, and don't be shy about prompting your group to move forward as well. And as we talked about seasonality and the situation, if you want to just have a quick round and you're going out and you're trying to have a fun time and do some different things, choose another tee set slightly more forward.
100%.
You know, convince your friends to maybe play a little bit more forward. They might enjoy it a little bit more, and you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. Well, okay. Well, the one thing I can tell you is that no matter what tees you play from, it isn't going to help you get the ball in the hole. But checking out this week's lesson tee might just do that. So it's time for another weekly golf tip, putting tip here on the Flagstick podcast. It's time to hit the lesson tee, brought to you by Kevin Haime Golf School. It's always the right time to play better golf, whether you need private lessons, a better short game, some putting help, or even a custom club fitting. Visit kevinhaime.com. And remember that better golf is a lot more fun. And this week, Kevin Haime is going to help you with your putting. Check this out.
Today we're inside our putting studio, and Jake's working on his favorite drill, right, Jake?
Yes, I am. I'm putting on a meter stick or a yard stick to make sure that my aim is proper and I can start the ball on this line I intend.
Yeah, 2 things. We see in our clinics and camps, people don't pay enough attention to alignment at the start or their aim, so this helps with that, obviously, Jake.
100%. Because I have the yardstick on the ground, it's easy to tell if my face is square, and it's easy to see my alignment to the target, assuming my eyes are over the ball properly.
Yeah, so I catch people looking at their putter all the time, moving their head around, and I think people think the path of the putter is what it's all about, and that is important, but what do the stats tell us about this?
Yeah, well, the stats would say that 85% or more of the starting direction of the putt is controlled by the face angle at impact.
That's wild.
Not the path. So although path's important because it's going to help you control your face, it actually means, everybody, that if you make a slight mistake but hit the ball with a square face at impact, you are still very likely to make the putt.
And this drill is the best drill for both, you know, your aim at the start and making sure your putter's square as the ball rolls into the middle of the cup, right?
Makes you very aware of whether you're actually starting the ball where you intended to or not, right?
Love it. Okay, let's do what Tiger Woods does. He puts a gate here. It, again, gives him some awareness and makes the stroke very particular. If we're outdoors, we'd stick tees in the ground like Tiger does. You can put even a cocktail glass. We've got a couple little weights here. So, Jake, let's see it again.
Yeah.
So we're going to put that putter down very carefully. Our aim is great, and then roll it on the yardstick. Right in the middle of the cup every time. Well
Absolutely.
done.
And if you can do this over and over, everybody, even if you do misread a longer range putt, because you'll be hitting the ball where you meant to, you're maximizing your odds to make putts, right? So close range, it's the most important thing. And even as you move farther away from the hole, visualize the yardstick and try to hit the putt where you intended to. It'll really help your putting.
Let's see if you can go 3 for 3.
Let's
put
do it.
Another ball down here to finish up, but that's really great, Jake. Put on a yardstick, everyone, and you'll get a lot better at short putts. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Well, that is yet another fine golf tip from Kevin Haime at the Kevin Haime Golf School. A little putting tip this time. And you know, there are all aspects of your game that you got to work on, not just your swing. Your putting is kind of an important component of your golf game. So that was a good tip.
Yeah, I like that one, especially with making use of the ruler. That's something I've done a lot in my own teaching. I actually have a class set of them. How's that? Easy
Class
tool,
set of rulers.
something that you can buy, but easy to set up and see, kind of where your club face is aiming, just as Kevin and Jake explained there. Great tool. And even when I was caddying for Grace St. Germain at the CP Women's Open, that was kind of her last drill that she did before she went out and played on the golf course. You just have a 3-foot ruler there and able to roll the ball down that, but able to see the club face being lined up. So great tip there, and certainly one people can try for themselves.
Well, the 6th of many, 6 episodes in, 6 tips,
yes,
and there's still many more to come. So, and obviously you can also check out all those tips on our YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
You can access them through flagstick.com. We've got sort of a separate thing set up on the website now for all of the tips that we feature on the Flagstick podcast. So,
yes, sir.
The past few episodes we've talked about, we spent some time talking about different types of technology that contribute to, in some part, to improving your game or the game itself.
Yeah.
Earlier on, we were talking about selecting, the right tees, not a technology thing, a system thing, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about selecting the right set of tees. We want to switch gears a little bit here and chat about, because we were talking about distance, we want to talk about rangefinders.
Yeah.
On this segment of Product Watch, brought to you, of course, by our good friends at Greensmere Golf and Country Club. Save 40% on all-day green fee rates with FlexPass for only $425 plus tax. Visit greensmere.com to get your FlexPass or for more information on that. So, diving into rangefinders. Now, we talked about, when we're talking about selecting the tees, when you're trying to figure out how far you're hitting it, you can use a rangefinder to do that. You measure off a certain distance, from the tee, as opposed to how far you have to hit into a green. You can actually measure to a spot in the fairway from the tee to get a general idea of where you're hitting your ball, and to help you understand which tees to play from. But the rangefinder obviously has a lot more uses than just figuring out how far you hit it off the tee. And they've come so far from when we first started using rangefinders. I remember
they weren't even legal. They weren't even legal.
Well, that's it. They weren't legal for competition. And there's still some of them that have features that you have to turn off for competition, that you're not allowed to use. But now they are legal in their basic form for competition. And, there's more than just one brand out there now.
Yeah, I mean, they've evolved a lot. Like you said, I think my first one that I got was in 2006. I actually have it around here someplace. It was a Bushnell Tour XL, big thing with a 9-volt battery, very basic.
Oh, right, the binocular style.
Exactly.
One. Yeah, I remember those.
Very basic as far as features, but obviously, did what it needed to do, and they were great. And as you said, they become more accepted. A lot more competitions are allowing distance measuring devices, even to the point of the PGA of America allowing them in the PGA Championship and in their championships. Generally, in most events, you're just not allowed to use the slope calculator, which would calculate, the up and down and give you the adjustments for that. But certainly we're seeing a proliferation of them. But at the same time, what's happened as well is as that category has grown, the costs have grown as well. So, some of the top ones in the market have now been joined by other brands. Obviously Bushnell was a leader. Then you get other companies starting to come in there, other ones that are known for, scope technology, whether it's, whatever the case may be. And now we're starting to see that there's other little upstart brands that are going, you know what? We can sort of do that, and maybe there's a better niche, but we're also seeing garbage ones too, that's for sure. And actually that was the genesis for the one that we're going to talk about today. But I would say now they've become sort of a common accessory, whereas at first, it was rare when one person or in a group had it and you're like, oh wow, hey, can you get me a yardage and whatever. And now you look and 12-year-olds are
Everybody's
walking around the golf course and they've got a rangefinder. And, it's been great because what's great about it is that, it has definitely helped speed up play for people that are concerned about yardages. They're not over there kind of walking off yardages or try to figure out or calculate it. It's just one zip, get it out, boom, and away you go. So,
see, and I was one of those people that
you didn't like it at first.
Oh,
did you?
no, I didn't. I mean, like for the most part, I am a bit more of a, although I haven't been playing golf my whole life, I haven't devoted, my life to golf like yourself. I'm not a history, like a major history buff. I do follow some of the history, and I am into that, some of the the history and the traditions of the game and things like that. Because of that traditions of the game, I've been very much against a lot of the technology that's been brought into the game, like rangefinders, watches, all that kind of stuff. Is like, I've always been more of a, you pace it off from the sprinkler head or from the 150 marker. It's got to be more about the golfer making the calculations and doing the work, and not so much about the technology.
It's 1964 calling, Jeff.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Well,
pick up the phone.
And I always felt that, at least with the people that I had played golf with outside of good players that were using these devices, it did not speed up play. It was slowing people down because they couldn't get the yardage right, and they were like lasering it over and over, and it was just like, oh my gosh, like, can you just like pace it off from the 150 yard marker? But that said, stepping back a little bit now, I've changed my mind, I've changed my tune, I've come into the light. 1960 is now behind me, although I really don't remember the 60s because I wasn't around then, so we'll have to go back to the 80s and 70s. Maybe
we'll go for that.
But I see it now, and I don't know if it's because the technology has gotten that much better that getting your yardage is quicker. It's simpler. Finding something to bang the yardage thing off, or the yardage rangefinder off of, to get your yardage is easier. It's picking up less of the trees in the background all the time. And stuff like that.
They're definitely better. Yeah, they're faster.
And I'm seeing that it actually does speed up play. And now I use one. I have.
I mean,
it's
just helping people make club selections and make the decision, and not stand there by their golf bag with 4 clubs going, I don't know which one I'm going to hit. And again, enjoying the game. And you've got to remember as well, I mean, we know that from our own kids, they're used to technology. Right? So the more that you can have technology, whether it's GPS watches, launch monitors, whatever the case, that's another point of engagement for them within the sport, that it doesn't seem like the old fuddy-duddy, sport, where at least, though, if they get used to that, then maybe they will take the time to embrace, hickories and all the different aspects and the traditions of the game. So
exactly,
but they definitely have gotten much, much better.
Now, this one that we're going to talk about really quickly here, in Product Watch this week is Blue Tees. And it's one that I had a really good conversation with the sales manager from this company, from Sundog, actually, about
Canadian
these
distributor
last year. And we talked about the different models that they had, because we're looking at possibly doing something with them with respect to some events and things. So I thought maybe this would be, rather than talk about the ones that everybody knows about, maybe we just talk a little bit about the Blue Tees rangefinder and how it compares, its features to some of the ones that are the more popular names.
Yeah. So what happened, the origin of this company is actually 5 friends that were from Southern California, and they were getting into the game, and they wanted to buy a rangefinder, but this is only a couple of years ago. And what they found was, it was prohibitive as far as the cost of buying a high-end rangefinder. We're talking about ones that are getting in the $500 and $600 range, would be in Canadian dollars here. And what they did was they decided to go the other way, and they decided to, do what a lot of people do. And they hopped on, their online shopping, and they ordered something super cheap from overseas. And unfortunately, the first product that they had, an eyepiece fell off. And they're like, oh, and
here we go.
It was crappy. Away you go. All right, give it the benefit of the doubt. They ordered another one. Same type of thing happened. And they just thought, okay, is there not a market here for a mid-price but high quality rangefinder that we can get into that will have a lot of features? And that was the genesis for Blue Tees. And they only came to retail in 2021, but their products so far have been very impressive, not only just because of the features that they have, but some of their marketing, things like their packaging, they pay attention to little features like extra batteries. And we'll see that the one we're talking about here is kind of their top of the line one, which is the Blue Tees 3 Max. It actually comes with 3 batteries. So a battery is good for probably 9 or 10,000, hits as far as zapping your laser. Well, they provide 2 extra ones in that package. So it's kind of smart as far as doing that, because again, that becomes one of the convenience factors that players go and they're like, man, I paid $600 for this thing, and the battery's gone, and now I got to go spend a whole bunch of money on a battery or whatever. We are seeing other ones come out with features like USB charging and stuff like that, but they're not always convenient either. You got to make sure you at least have something to charge it. But the Blue Max, the 3 Max, sells for about $339 in Canada.
It's very reasonable.
Very reasonable, especially for the quality that you get. It's got a very good display. It's got a 4K display, and I played around with one of these, and so I'm not just saying this from reading it off the tin, as they say in the UK. I've had one in my hand and made use of it. Yeah, the display is really clear. It's got a very simple, easy to use things like your slope switch. One of the things I found with some rangefinders is that it's really hard to find all the different modes and move between the modes. So all of a sudden it gets stuck on one mode and you can't get it out of there. So next thing you know, it's on meters and it's on scanning mode, and you're like, this thing's useless. I don't have time. I just got to get a yardage, put it back in my bag, and I'll use it for the rest of the round. This one's pretty easy that way. It's got a cool display in the fact that it's auto ambient. It's got a magnetic strip that's built in
for putting on the cart.
Put it on the cart, which obviously is something we're seeing in more rangefinders now. Originally, there was sort of cases that would go around it, but now it's sort of built in that way. 900-yard range, so when you're driving it off the tee, you can measure out all 900 yards that you hit it. Water resistant.
Because that's a problem.
Yeah, and also has the the option as well when it locks in that it will pulse, and then that way it shows.
I always like that. That's a good feature to have, where that you've got your desired target.
Yeah, for sure. And you've got a mode as well where you can scan if you're just looking at a number of different targets. So basically you're targeting across the different area, and then you're picking out different things, and you want multiple yardages or just a single one as far as locking in. The other cool part is comes in multiple colors. Not big for everyone, but comes in blue, comes in black, and it comes in pink as well. And I know you'd love the pink one for sure. But yeah, just nicely designed, clean packaging, decent price, high quality. It does have a good warranty with it as well, which is really important. So, you don't end up in that situation where you are shipping it back. And I just got an email actually from them today, and they actually say now that they're at 1,000 green grass and retail locations in North America already. So that's pretty big growth for them in a couple of years. So definitely, we're not just sitting there and pushing the product. We're just saying, here, it's something that you should check out as far as an option list when you're looking for a rangefinder. Yeah,
well, especially with something that's becoming as popular as rangefinders are, you want to have something that's quality. You want to have something that's affordable. You want to have something that you can rely on. Yeah. And like this is just one. We're talking about this one because we can't sit here and do a whole show. We could do a whole show on rangefinders, but we're not going to do a whole show right now with everything else we talk about on rangefinders. So we just kind of selected one that kind of intrigued us, that interested us, that we thought would interest all of you, and we're talking about it. But there are tons of different rangefinders out there. Go check one out. Maybe you don't like how. Maybe you don't like how it holds you hold it in your hand. It doesn't feel comfortable, whatever. Find one that you like. And if it happens to be one of these Blue Tees ones, then great. You might like it. There you go.
There we go.
Scotty Mac, I got to say, it's, we get going on some topics and the time just kind of rambles by and it's a lot of fun doing this every week, but sometimes I feel like it's too short, even though I know we've been going on for probably a better part of an hour now. But it's great information for everybody. But we got to, we got to shut it down. We got to get out, and we got other things we got to get to this week. So
got it.
Want to thank all our sponsors once again: Metcalf Golf Club, Golf Sim Gurus, Greensmere Golf and Country Club, the Kevin Haime Golf School, and of course, can't do it without them, our presenting sponsor, TaylorMade Golf Canada. Check out the new Stealth line of golf equipment at taylormadegolf.ca, and welcome to the carbon wood age. Hopefully, you're continuing to enjoy listening and watching what we're bringing to you every week. Be sure to follow us across all the social media networks: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Subscribe to us on Spotify, Audible, and Apple Podcasts, obviously. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us, click on the little notification bell. Make sure that you never miss a single episode when it drops. Get over to flagstick.com for even more amazing golf content delivered to you every single day, because it's what we do. I want to thank you for spending so much time with us again on another episode of Flagstick Podcast. I am Jeff Botter.
And I'm Scott McLeod.
Always remember, go for the stick.